Hello and welcome to another week of Building Morak. And believe it or not, I'm starting off this week's episode by destroying something I'd done in a previous episode. This time, it's my original technic creation from, I don't even know how long ago, like episode 3. Basically, with my main construction, this basically is where the edge of that area sat, with the motor being behind it, but that pillar there was too close, so that basically the good old big boy motor wouldn't actually fit in this area here where my battery box is going to go. So I can't really move that pillar any further back, because otherwise this isn't supported. The pillar needs to be here. So that meant I had to shorten the distance between the motor and the actual construction, which means I needed to change the way that the technic beam was attaching to it. And that meant having to change everything in this center so that this technic beam is shorter and connects here at the actual base, rather than having that little extra brick buffer. This was to remove a brick's distance from this forward. All this mess. Was it worth it? No. But here we are now. You can see I've used a long flower stem piece here to basically keep it all in one smooth motion. And you can see when I move this on, this does still all work, even though these two have slightly been damaged beyond repair. But this is now all working together nicely. So I now just need to refill in all these pieces, try and remember where each of these parts go. I'm not going to remember that, so I'm basically going to have to just quickly redesign the top, and I'll get with you when that's done. Have we done the intro? I don't think so. Let's go to the intro. Okay, and here's what the new and improved function looks like. Does it look different from the last one? Not particularly, no. But you can see here we've got the details on the top. Just like the last one, you'll notice it goes majority plate, majority tile, majority plate, majority tile, majority plate, majority tile, blah, blah, blah. That's because the plates will basically be covered up, so that's where the wheels are going to go. And so that when I get my motor, my battery box, hook it up to the big boy motor like so, all these boys start moving, and that's where the wheels are going to be. One change I made on this one, you remember last time we had these gaps so that these moving sections didn't get stuck. I was actually told by a comment a good idea to basically be filling these in is by using brackets. So that's what I've done. You can see I've just put a bracket and a plate, which doesn't fully cover up the hole. Like, I could put a tile on top of that and that would cover up the hole, but it would just do the same thing where it stops it. What I've got here basically covers up the hole quite well without like totally blocking it. And it also adds some nice little texture in there. So I do need to get a couple more brackets just to finish up this side, but this side on the closer to the camera is pretty much perfect in what I want. So yeah, that looks pretty good here. Now let's move on to what I want to do with the majority of this episode. Right, my plan for this week is to basically get all of the modular sections of the MOC so far and put them all together. But first, I need to build a second continuing rock face, kind of just like the one there, but just build it along into here. So here's a quick little time lapse of me setting up the base. I didn't do a time lapse for the rest of the mountain because I'm stupid and I forgot. But yeah, let me just explain to you my technique for the rock work here. Well, you can see I've started on the mountain in this section as I got that base set up before. You see I've got all my dark tan pad cups next to me. And yeah, we're working on it. You can see I've done a little bit here and I'm going to work onto the side. I just wanted to show you my tactic basically for tackling this section of the rock work. Because last time, if you remember, the underside of it was quite unsturdy. So I'm basing each of these on a burnt piece. And now most people in the LEGO community like hate these things because they're just too big, too bulky, and too, I don't know, preformed. All the rocks look the same if you use them. But my plan is to basically put slopes on top of a burp, so to kind of morph the shape. Like if I spin this around, you can see that there's already a burp on that section there. And now I'm just going to do the same on this right section, just by attaching slopes to it. So I'm going to try and cover it up just like that and compare it to the other one and see how they look next to each other. Because I'm not going to try and make it look identical to this, even though they're based on the same starter piece, if that makes sense. So yeah, interested to see how this one goes. Okay, I skipped forward a little bit, but here's what this section looks like all together. You can see I've made this actual base bit where the plants and whatnot are going to go a lot bigger than on the original version, which you can see is that long. So we've made it, I'll get the base plate out to show it. I basically made it that much bigger, which isn't a ton, but it will just add more detail and make them all bigger and make it look better. Similar to the last rock face, it's not a majestic creation. This is quite simple, and I'm aware of that. It's not really going to be the focus, and I don't want it to be the focus. This just kind of needs to an end. So like the rock face will be here, but all the interesting stuff will be happening on top. This is just basically to provide a strong and sturdy foundation. And this is really strong and sturdy, because you can see I've got quite a lot of filler backing up this section. Like you can see it goes right through there. And then on this section, we'll lay the main brown function for the actual juggernaut itself. So yeah, quite happy with this base plate. Right, now to work on this base plate a little bit. I'll show you what I mean. Okay, here's that to expand the full base plate, because if you remember last week, I basically added another 32 studs onto the width of my mock. And this is basically a good showcase of it here. This is what I had done already, and this is what I've added to it for the width. So it's nice and long, and you can see, of course, I kept my hollow filler technique. Okay, remember that kind of like half base plate I had before? Yeah, I need to turn it into a full one. Okay, so after a quick bit of time working on that, you can see I've got a full base plate. Nice and hollow, just the way I like my support work, so I don't use as many pieces. But you can see I've got a nice 32 by 32 flat base on top. Perfect. I think it's about time we put these all together. Okay, so I've moved this entire section from here to here, because now I think I'm just about ready to start putting this all together, or at least what we've got finished so far all together. And yeah, let's see exactly how much we've got and what it looks like when it's all together. Let's actually show some progress on this mock, if you can believe it or not. Okay, right, we have some progress to showcase. Yeah. These were the two big 32 by 32 base plates we were building earlier. I need to find another Technic pin to connect them in there. But besides that, that's holding together quite strong. And you can see we've added a second layer to this section. Ignore that, ignore that. But you can see we've now got a continual rock face. Could you see where the gap was in between there? Nope, I certainly couldn't. It's just here, by the way. Oh no, it's not. It's here. That's where the gap is. See, it's so hard to see, even I can't notice it. But yeah, you can see we've got that, and that's not staying. But we've got a continual base running down, and yeah, I'm liking how that's all coming together. You may notice we've got a slight gap in between here. That's because I realized I don't actually have base plates in this section. So what I'm gonna have to do is convert this here onto a 48 by 48 grey base plate, which I think will basically just cover up these empty gaps in the side to basically create this as a full rectangle. So I'm going to go do that. Okay, progress is being made. You can see I switched this over to a grey base plate and put in my inner support for this. Don't know what that figure's doing there, but say hello. Yeah, you can see this is now stuck in pretty much perfectly to my calculations. My Lego math turned out correct. You can see that. I think it's technically one stud over. But if we move back here, you can see this meets perfectly onto that Technic mechanism. I could build it on top of the Technic mechanism, but that means this is currently modular, so it needs to be pulled out for moving this mock around. And you can see it basically takes up the entire table. Like the table starts here and it ends here. The mock takes up all of it. So you can see that the fact that this is basically about I'd say just over a third of the mock. I'd say just under half, just under a third, around there. I'd say about 40% of the mock, I'd say, is this. Maybe a bit more, maybe 45%. So this is about 45% of the mock in its overall size. This is going to be massive. Let's not forget that. So on top of this brown section will basically be the juggernaut. And then these will be behind it. And then in this area, hypothetically, will be the base. We'll have a big bridge here, a big river here running right round. It's going to be a big old boy, as I've said before. But yeah, there you have it, I guess. That's basically the progress for this week. I still haven't perfectly perfected this technic thing over here, but I'm not boring you with that this week. This is basically bringing all of this together and showing you what I've basically completed in the mock so far by 10 episodes. And as many episodes as I've been like, we haven't made too much progress, so I've just been messing around with technic the whole time, I'd say this is a fair amount of bulk, even though if I show you around here, most of that is hollow. But that doesn't matter, you know? This is the actual progress, and this is what I've gotten done, and I'm quite proud of that. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for this week's episode of Building Morak. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you can see it all together. I will build this as well at some point, because this will be more just rocks like that. But I hope you did enjoy it. Thank you so much for watching this week's update. If you liked it, like the video. That is what the like button's there for. Comment if you think that this is good. Not much to change it now, but you can see I've still got so much to do, like all of this. I think the next week is going to be finishing out this gap here, finishing this, plating over, and just, like, I want to start the foliage soon, and, like, the actual grass, which will be going up here, as well as all the trees. I'll have to pull this out, because the trees will obviously hit those cabinets. But yeah, here it is all together. Big old mock. And subscribe if you've not, so you will not miss all of that fun stuff. Thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. It's been a long old episode, but goodbye.